Think about the last time you bought a new phone. You probably did a ton of research, right? You compared all the features, but at the end of the day, was that final decision really all you?
Okay, check this out. A study back in 2021, this one was in India, found that more than half, over 50% of all smartphones were being bought online. Now, that is a huge shift. And yeah, the pandemic definitely sped that up, but it didn't just change where we shop. It fundamentally changed how we decide what to buy. But here's the real kicker. It's not just about clicking add to cart. The most surprising thing from that study, it's who people were trusting. The voices of YouTubers and tech reviewers, total strangers really, started carrying more weight than advice from our best friends or even our family. So why is that? To get to the bottom of it, we've got to dive into the psychology of who we listen to and why.
Okay, so let's talk about this influencer that's already inside your head. And spoiler alert, it's not just one person. It's actually a whole network of people. In social psychology, they have a name for this. It's called your reference group. And it's basically built from all the groups you belong to, and maybe even the ones you wish you belonged to. I like to think of it as your own personal buying committee. These are all the different groups, big and small, that kind of set the standards for your life. They define the norms, the rules, and they do this whether you're consciously aware of it or not.
And this committee, it's not just one group, it's this whole collection of different influences. You've got your family, of course, your close friends, the people you work with every day. But it's also your religious groups, maybe your neighbors, the team you play sports with on the weekend, and yeah, even those online forums you browse. Every single one of them gets a vote in your final decision.
So how exactly do these groups influence us? Well, it boils down to two key ways. The first one is called normative influence. Basically, that's the pressure to fit in. You know, buying a certain brand of clothes so you're accepted by your friends. The goal is just to conform. The second way is comparative influence. This is a bit different. It's less about fitting in and more about feeling right about your choices. It's when you compare yourself to people you respect to make sure your own beliefs and decisions are solid.
All right, so we've got this personal buying committee, right? All these different reference groups pushing and pulling on us. But let's be real, within any group, some people's opinions just matter more. Their voices are louder. These are the people who act as gatekeepers of information, and they've got a special name. This is where the whole idea of a modern influencer really comes into play.
So yeah, let's meet the opinion leader. Think of them like the modern town crier. They are the go-to person for advice. We all know one, right? It's that friend who's a total coffee snob and knows exactly which beans to buy. Or maybe it's your cousin who can build a gaming PC from scratch. And yes, it's absolutely that YouTuber with millions of subs reviewing the latest tech. And the way information gets to us, it's not as simple as you see an ad, you buy the product. It's more complicated. There's this idea called the multi-step flow model. Basically, information starts with the media, ads and brands, but it doesn't go straight to you. It goes to the opinion leader first. They're the ones who are paying close attention. They consume all that info, they filter out the junk, form an opinion, and then they share their advice with their network, with us. And that's what really influences our purchases.
So what makes someone an opinion leader? Well, they're not just random people. They have a few things in common. For starters, they are way more involved and interested in whatever the product is. They're also usually more self-confident, more sociable. They're the ones reading all the niche magazines and blogs. But here's the most important part. We see them as credible. Why? Because their advice doesn't feel like a commercial. It feels real. And they're often the first ones to try new things, the innovators.
Okay, so we've got our reference groups, and we've got these opinion leaders, the modern town criers, who guide them. But that just begs another question, right? What shapes the taste of the opinion leaders themselves? Where do their ideas come from? Well, that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle. And it's maybe the biggest, most powerful force of all, this invisible framework that we all exist inside.
And that framework is social class. Yeah, it's a loaded term, but what it really means is this hierarchy that we're all a part of. It's what shapes our tastes, what we aspire to own, and even what we think is normal or cool to buy to begin with. It really is like the cultural water we're all swimming in. Now, the way social class influences us isn't the same for every single thing we buy. A lot of it comes down to one simple question. How visible is it? How much do other people see it? And we can actually map this out, which is pretty cool. This matrix just lays it out so clearly. Let's start in the top right, a public luxury. Think a sports car or a sailboat. Here, group influence is massive. It affects both the decision to even buy one in the first place and which brand you get. Now, look at a private luxury, like a fancy home security system. The group might influence you to get one, but since no one sees it, the brand doesn't matter as much. Down in the bottom left, a private necessity, like a mattress or dish soap, almost zero social influence. But that top left box, public necessities, that's where things get really interesting.
So yeah, that brings us right to that top left corner, public necessities. Think about a car or a wristwatch. Most of us need one, right? So the social pressure isn't about if you should buy one. The pressure is 100% on which brand you buy. Because that choice, that brand, is a huge visible signal of your status.
And this whole dynamic creates what's called the trickle-down effect. The basic idea is that the things used and bought by the upper classes slowly trickle down and become the things that other social groups want. The aspirational purchases of one group become the next big goal for another, creating this endless cycle of desire.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? The most important thing to remember is that your buying decisions don't just happen in a vacuum. They're the end result of all these overlapping forces: your reference groups, those key opinion leaders, and your place in the bigger social hierarchy. And you better believe marketers know this inside and out. In fact, they have a playbook. And once you see it, you'll start noticing it everywhere. They use 3 main approaches. First, the celebrity. That's all about aspiration, using a famous face to make you want what they have. Second, the expert. Think about a doctor in a commercial for medicine. That's leveraging credibility and expert power. And third, the common man. This is when they show people just like you using a product. That's all about creating that sense of belonging, that normative influence we talked about. So now you know the playbook, which brings us back to you. The next time you feel that little pull towards a certain product or a specific brand, just stop for a second and ask yourself, whose voice is that really? Is it an opinion leader you trust? Is it just the desire to fit in with your friends? Or is it that bigger, invisible hand of social aspiration? Thinking about that is the first step to really owning your choices. Thanks for joining.